Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole and I'm going to share with you about my 2022 TBR. So I have been spending a little time each month of this year talking about the books that I have not just hauled in 2022, but really the books that I said I wanted to read in 2022. And we're just going back, we're looking at them now that I have owned them or do own them. And we're talking about which ones have I read and unhauled, which ones have I read and I still own, and if there are any left in that haul or on that TBR list that I still have left to read. So let's go ahead and get started with my June TBR audit. All right, it's a pretty short list this month. In June 2022, I had a total of 6 books that I had put on my TBR as books that I wanted to read. Some of them I may have hauled during that month. Probably a decent number of them I just said that month, hey, I want to read. But since then, I have owned these books. So I'm going to go ahead and put a graphic up on the screen and I'll just sort of walk you through that real quickly and then we'll go back and talk about the remaining 2 of the 6 books. So 2 of the books, as you can see, I have already read. That is Life After Life and The Eighth Life. I have to look at my notebook because I can't see the graphic I'm showing you right now. And yeah, I put the rating there for both of them. I actually really did like Life After Life. Having read that book though, I later came across another book with similar theme of like just seeing what different things in somebody's life, how that can lead them to being a different person. Since reading Life After Life, I read another book with a similar theme or covering this similar idea of what or how could somebody's life change and how could they become a different person just by small different things happening in their life or different moments in their life changing. And the book that I read that was like this was 4321 by Paul Auster, and I actually like that book better. That said, I don't want to take anything away from Life After Life. I think it's a really good book, though overly long, and I did eventually unhaul it. I think because I just could tell it wasn't a book that I personally was going to read over and over again. And at the time that I owned it, I lived near a really good used bookstore that was easy to return books or exchange books, and they gave out really good store credit. I don't even know how they stayed in business, but it was a great store. It's still there. The other book was The Eighth Life, and that was not as successful. The interesting thing about both these books is they were both mammoth books. One of them I really liked. One was like just okay. The Eighth Life is a work of historical fiction, and not too surprisingly, people's fear with the big books, I felt like, came to life in this book. It was really long, it was overly long, and it was just too much. And I actually finished it thanks to the help of an audiobook. Like that was probably the only way I was going to make it through the end of the book. And by the time I started the audiobook, I was so far into the book that I felt like I just needed to finish it because I had put so much work in. Like I think it was 2/3 of the way through the book, and I was like, I'm not going to stop now, but I didn't want to drag it out for forever, therefore audiobook. So unfortunately, neither of those books were books that really served me well. I did end up unhauling both of them. And then as you can see, I have 2 other books off of this list that I ended up DNFing. So The Last Samurai and Cloud Atlas, both of these just fell into a style of writing that I don't like. I would say they're both works of literary fiction. Over the course of the last 4 years, I've discovered that literary fiction 9 times out of 10 doesn't work for me, or at the very least, I'm not finding the right kind of literary fiction. I like the idea and premises that tend to be in literary fiction and the types of themes that they're going to discuss, but I don't like the way a lot of them are written. Not because they're poorly written, it's just a writing style that I personally don't like. The Last Samurai in particular was really a turnoff for me very quickly on, and in a very, very personal way, in that it's telling the story of a mother and her son, and at the very beginning of the book it's this stream of consciousness in her mind and she's constantly being interrupted by her young child, and that just brought back some sort of weird PTSD from being a mom myself. And I remember those times of not being able to complete a thought because a little person constantly needed you, and I don't know, I was like, I don't know that I need to go back into that mindset. I'm too busy now trying to finish thoughts and I don't need to read about somebody else not being able to finish them. I don't know if the whole book was like that, but it didn't matter. I didn't want to move on past that first chapter or whatever, if there were even chapters. The other book, Cloud Atlas, I finished about 50% of this book. Well, in fact, I know I finished 50% of this book because it is interconnected short stories. And I think I made it halfway through so that I had finished the first half of all of the stories. And then the way the book works is as you read the second half of the book, you go through the second half of all of those stories in order. And each of the stories is very different tone, very different writing style. And like that was interesting, but the stories themselves were not. And I think that's where the book lost me. The idea of having to go back through all like 5 or 6 or however many of it there were of those stories that I didn't enjoy the first time, I didn't care that there was going to be a connection on reading them the second time. I just didn't want to go back into those worlds. And I think that's a huge part of reading. You want to be experiencing and enjoying, or at least intrigued by the world you were in or are in when you're reading. And I was bored in every single one of those worlds. Like one of them was okay, but it wasn't the very next story I was going to have to go into. And I was like, I just can't do it. And sorry for the weird hair I have going on. It's drying. I wash my hair, in case you were wondering, like this is how I sometimes dry it. It's just braided. Okay, so I have 2 more books because I told you there were 4 total, and the other 2 are both still on my TBR. So there are books I still have to read, want to read. I don't know. That's a different question. 2 of the books that I DNF'd, I didn't like the writing style, and I am somewhat afraid that it's going to be the same thing with these next 2 books. So the first one is 2666, and this is a book that I have heard a lot of people talk about. A lot of people seem to really like it, and a lot of those people tend to like literary fiction and postmodern writing and stream of consciousness and those types of things. Thus, I'm pretty sure this is going to end up in the DNF pile once I one day decide to pick it up. And I'm pretty sure that's why I haven't been picking it up, because I think as time goes on more and more, I'm interested in the ideas of the book, but almost positive I'm either not going to like the writing style or I'm personally going to find the book boring. Not because the book is boring, not because it's a bad writing style, you may like it. I just have learned to know myself better as a reader over the last 4 years, which means that books that I bought 4 years ago, I probably wouldn't buy if I could do it over again. And that may be an argument for like waiting to buy books until you're ready to read them, but I still would have bought the book. So I don't know how that would have helped me other than that I might have fewer books on my shelf at one time. I don't know, whatever. I think if you were going to make any argument, it would have to be that's why you should get all your books from the library and then buy only the ones you like. But I don't like to reread books that often, and I like being able to take my time anyway. There's all sorts of arguments you can make. I'm very happy with the way I buy books and unhaul them or rearrange them or whatever. And I feel like it's interesting to see like how my reading has changed over the years based on what I'm still interested in reading or what I've been avoiding and that kind of thing. And in doing this, I have found that there's quite a few books that I have had for 4 years that I didn't read that I kind of regret not having gotten to them sooner. So it's not like everything that I've bought in the last 4 years that's still on my TBR is something that I'm no longer going to enjoy. It's just a mix of things that I've avoided for a variety of reasons. Like this next book, which is Winter's Tale. This I have actually, I can't even guarantee that it was originally put on my TBR in 2022. It may have gone on there sooner. I know this book has gone on and off and on and off and on and off my TBR, and it's a book that I have owned and unhauled and owned and unhauled. And at this point, I just need to give this stupid book a try and like really make a good attempt at reading it so that if I don't like it, I can stop rehauling it. And I just don't use my library enough to be like, get it from there. And this is a book that I definitely would not get from the library because it's a longer book and I would not want the pressure of trying to get through a long book before I had to send it back or having to renew it and keep track of that and all that jazz. This is supposed to be, I think, a bit historical fiction, a bit of a romance, a bit magical realism or sci-fi or something. And that intrigues me. In fact, I think I first became interested in this book because of the magical realism. And then over time, I've discovered that it's not really magical realism that I like in books. I don't know what it is that's related to that, but it's something that's being done with magical realism sometimes. Anyway, this book is actually on my TBR pile of possibilities. Is it a priority read for the month of June? I don't remember that. It might be. So either way, chances are pretty good that I might actually get to this book this month. I definitely want to try and do so again, so that if nothing else, I can just unhaul it and clear some space because it's taking up a lot of shelf space. And yeah, we'll see. These books are about two different things. They're written in different styles. This is, for it to be a historical fiction, I feel like written in a very literary manner. So I don't know what's going to happen with either of these books. I didn't really tell you what this book is about, but it's because it's about so many things and nothing all at the same time, and it's so experimental that I don't even know what it says it's about is what it's actually about. But supposedly it's about, what is it, three academics who are looking for a German author, and they end up, where do they end up? Oh yeah, because there's also a reporter and he ends up in Mexico and he's working with a police detective, or there is a police detective. There's multiple points of view that are kind of surrounding these crimes that are happening to women, but then there's also this looking for this author. There's a couple of different things going on in this story. It's my understanding. Whether or not they all come together or touch or just, have a moment in time where they cross paths, who knows? Who knows if I'll read either of these? Like and subscribe and you'll find out. But that's it for me for today. Let me know how your reading is going. Let me know if there is any, past TBR or really super TBR vet books that you are going to be working on or reading this month. And I'll talk to you next time.